the building and obviously has rebranded itself. As far as the pylon sign, the approvers of this variance find that that it is reasonable for the location of the sign, and that it would not make a dramatic difference whether or not it was moved out of the setback area. It is noted that there is a significant distance from it was testified to the footage from the highway, from the breakdown lane, from the travel lanes. And again, this is at a very wide area of the highway where it is approximately, I think, 5 or 6 lanes wide at that point. It is within the spirit and intent of the ordinance. It will not adversely affect the property values of surrounding parcels. It is not contrary to public interest, and substantial justice would be served.
We have a motion on the table to approve, seconded by Ms. McKay. Any discussion on the motion?
I'd actually like to ask us to vote perhaps on the two separately, because I think there's different sentiment. Maybe it won't ultimately affect the outcome, but I know I've expressed support for one and not the other, and you've, I think, expressed support for neither. So I think it might make more sense to vote for them separately.
Sure. I'm just saying, so there's a motion on the table with justification for both. Could I suggest that the motion, the justification stays the same, but the motion just for the first variance first? And
Sure.
all right, so we're just, we have a motion on the table, but the motion, I know you're creating a lot of writing for you, but the motion is just, in this, for the encroachment. The first variance is to encroach 10 feet into the 10-foot required front setback. Is that
just setback?
just setback? So we're voting on that criteria only. So we have the motion on the table by Mr. Boucher, and that's seconded by Ms. McKay. So a show of hands in favor of the encroachment is the 3, and then opposed is Mr. Shaw and myself. So that motion carries. And now we were gonna, with the same justification, Mr.
Who was opposed to that motion?
Shaw and Courier.
I wrote that.
And so now we're voting on variance number 2, which is to exceed the maximum wall sign area, 150 square feet permitted, 138 feet existing. One additional 96 square foot wall sign is proposed for a total of 234 square feet. So again, Mr. Boucher's motion is in favor of that, seconded by Ms. McKay. A show of hands in favor of that second variance is the 4, and opposed is myself. So that motion carries. So we wish you good luck with your new signs. And with that, I'll close the public meeting on case number 8. So we have in front of us a rehearing request, 2 sets of minutes, and we do have the full board here to discuss officers. Are we good to keep going tonight? Let me just go around the table and see what we think here. Any thoughts? Do we want to pick these items up at the next meeting or keep going now?
Keep going.
Keep going? Could I ask for a quick recess? And then we'll get back at it. So we're going to take, I don't think, even a 5-minute recess.
Okay. I just have a quick question. Do we have something other than what looks to be the original application for the rehearing request?
There was an email
I emailed a
that,
package.
that has a lot of the same thing we have here, but there was some language specifically to the rehearing request on that email.
Okay, because I haven't seen that, and I guess
Thick package.
I
thought I
got the
emailed.
email.
Well, there were several attachments to it, and several of
One
the...
attachment had a lot of information from the Daktronics.
I printed the whole thing.
Okay,
Oh, that's
that
fine.
would be...
I thought I emailed it to every.
you probably
That's
did.
how I
Yeah.
I
printed it.
probably can
But-
even pull it up on my phone now. I just, I was
If
looking
you
for.
pull it up on the phone, it's a bit harder.
Yeah, I
because
was
you
looking
have
for
to-
the
Do you
paper
need- did you
version of
want
it.
to, Rob, did you
Which-
want to see this?
Yeah, if I could, maybe while you.
Yeah, I think we're gonna take no more than a 5-minute break, and Mr. Shaw can take a look at that. We have a rehearing request. Have you had a chance to read that?
I had read it, I just
Oh,
didn't, I
you
still
didn't?
didn't really recognize it as like,
As the
as-
meat and potatoes of the rehearing
yeah,
request.
so it's okay.
The only thing that was sort of new in that was confirmation that they could have the sign change at whatever frequency that we wanted, if we were to stipulate something like that.
So on the first, maybe we'll just walk through the questions here. Was there any procedural error? This includes improper notice, denying someone the right to be heard, et cetera. I'm just gonna walk around. Mr. Shaw?
No.
Mr. Lionel? No. Ms. McKay? And I don't think so either. Number 2, was it an illegal decision? In other words, did the board fail to completely address each of the points of law required for the special exception and/or variance?
No.
No.
Ms. McKay is a no, and I'm a no. Number 3, does the request hearing contain any new information not presented or available to the board at the original public hearing? I think you were just speaking to that, Mr. Lionel, so if you would repeat that thought.
During the previous hearing, we asked if the sign could be made to change very slowly, like once every few hours or once a day or something like that. And the applicant did not know at the time. And the information that came in recently indicated that, yes, it could. I don't think that's material to the decision, given the rationale that we had at the time for why we denied the request. It's interesting, but I don't think it rises to the level of saying yes to a rehearing.
Mr. Shaw?
I think the only other thing I think that was in there was a couple statements to kind of economic impact of, of this kind of signage, which I'm not even sure how new that was, but it was highlighted, or at least meant to, I think,
We're not supposed to
enhance.
consider that.
I'm just saying what was presented as, quote, new information,
Yeah.
so, right. So,
I don't disagree, and I guess reiterate, there was a little bit of discussion at the original meeting on can the sign change slowly? And, the applicant, or at least the person testifying, I don't know if it was the applicant himself, but maybe the engineer or someone said, oh, he didn't know, but the answer one way or the other didn't affect my decision on that, because at least mine was based on the uniqueness of the property wasn't there. There's a big wall sign, and there was no net advantage. I felt by having that sign, and I felt that I was basing my criteria on if it's an outdated language that we have, the alderman should be consulted to change it. And so I'm answering the question by saying I don't think it contains any new information myself, Mr. Shaw.
yeah, or I think, and I feel like this question, the part of it that's kind of underlying it is of relevant new information, because anybody could throw stuff at us that would be, it's new information, but I think it's a matter of relevancy. And I do believe, if I recall correctly, I think there was some focus on kind of like the 5-minute type of interval, and there was some concern expressed about whether that was actually kind of good or healthy for the sign, and they need to kind of look into that, and weren't so sure. And so I think that was essentially the homework that was done, but it absolutely did not have any bearing on my decision and the way I looked at this. And I don't believe it was really influenced the board in general, as I recall. And likewise, on the economic kind of effect, as Mr. Lionel just said, we shouldn't even be considering that. But I just wanted to note it was presented as if it was some further other new information. But I definitely would say no to number 3.
So I think Mr. Lionel, Mr. Shaw have made that clear, and I just wanted to say again that I find there's no new relevant information, so I'm answering question number 3 is a no. Mr. Boucher on question number 3.
In general, I'll say no.
Ms. McKay?
No, I like the use of the word relevant. That's what makes the difference. Was there something new that we didn't know at the time? Yes, but was it relevant? No.
So question number 4, is there anything which could cause the board to make a different decision? I'll go around the table the other way, and for me, it's no.
No.
I see it differently, I say yes.
Okay. You want to add on to that, or just leave it?
No,
at that?
I
Or just
just, maybe I just remember the conversation a little differently.
Okay.
So maybe if, going back to the discussion about the display time. But that's just the way I see it.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Lionel?
No,
Mr. Shaw?
no.
So I think based on the majority decision of answering the 4 questions is no, I make a motion that we do not rehear this case. Seconded by Mr. Lionel. Show of hands in favor of that motion is unanimous, and so therein lies the answer to that rehearing request.
Who seconded that? JP?
There
No,
was a,
Steve?
Steve
seconded was
Yeah, I
Mr.
seconded
Lionel.
it, yes.
So we have 2 sets of minutes, which I have here. We have the minutes from February 13th and February 27th. Let me just take the minutes of February 13th. I didn't see any changes, so I'm going to look around the board. And is there anyone here who, well, let's see, it was myself, Ms. McKay, Ms. Boras, and Ms. Vitale. So there's 2 of us here who are at that meeting. I think unless there's objection, we could proceed in it unless, so I didn't see any, I didn't have any amendments to those minutes. Ms. McKay, did you?
No, I don't think so.
Have you folks looked at the minutes?
I looked at them, but I wasn't here, so.
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Chair, I guess, I mean, I know oftentimes we try to kind of follow a practice of trying to vote with whoever's here and been present, but I think it's still incumbent upon us as a board to still act, and I don't think
Yeah.
it requires us to have been there to be able to vote in
Right.
approving or disapproving of
Yep.
of minutes either, so.
So I'll make a motion to approve the February 13, 2018 minutes as proposed. Would you like to second that motion, Ms. McKay?
Certainly.
Seconded. Show of hands in favor is unanimous. And on the February 27th 2018 meeting, I didn't have any amendments that I see necessary. Let me just go around. Mr. Shaw, who wasn't here, but Mr. Lionel?
I didn't see anything.
No, and Ms. McKay is a no. So I make a motion to approve the February 27th minutes as presented, seconded by Mr. Lionel. Show of hands in favor. So that's unanimous, so we taken care of that. We have an agenda for next meeting. Geez, only 4. We take a look through that to see if there's any regional impact. Mr. Boucher says no regional impact. He sees none. Mr. Lionel is a no. Mr. Shaw is indicating no. I'm indicating no. And Ms. McKay is indicating no. So that's unanimous that the board finds no regional impact for the minutes for the agenda for April 10th. Final thing is officers. We're finally here as a quorum. I'm happy if I throw out if our vice chair would like to step up to chair. I think that's, if you'd like to talk about that, that's fine.
No, sure, I'll volunteer.
All right. Is there somebody of interest to be a vice chair?
Is there anybody, well, maybe there's somebody else that wants to be the chair. We should probably just make sure that
Oh,
that doesn't
okay.
exist, right?
Sure.
Because it shouldn't be an automatic.
I've spoken to, I think, all the board members, maybe a little bit except Mr. Shaw, and I'll ask again, is there any one of us who's interested to be chair? Okay. Vice chair? I would be okay as vice chair.
Then I could nominate you.
Okay. I'd just like to say that I'm pleasantly surprised that my attendance has been perfect for all of 2017 and all of 2018. I'm surprised. But where I work, I haven't had to travel on a Tuesday. And personally, I've certainly changed my schedule to make it here every meeting in the summer, but I won't be doing that this summer, so I'll be not having perfect attendance in the warm months.
Kate May, is it?
Probably. Clerk,
Oh, I'd like to do it again if it's okay with
Yeah,
everyone.
you want to, yeah.
all right, so let me just make a motion that Mr. Boucher is chair. I'll be vice chair. Ms. McKay will be clerk. Is there a
Second that.
seconded by Mr. Shaw? A show of hands in favor?
Is there some place where I write that? Or do we just keep that a
You
record?
could
Yeah, just to-
write it
for
somewhere,
additional,
On
motion.
here?
Motion by Jack, seconded by Rob, 5-0 vote for approval for the slate of officers for 2018.
Yeah, right. And again, just for the record, this is the first meeting in 2018 where the five of us been here. We're the 5 voting members, and that's why it's the end of March, and we're having. So with that, I make a motion.
One more thing, the meeting that we're gonna have, that we scheduled for next Tuesday night about the ADUs, I know, Rob, you said you couldn't make it, I think I emailed everybody. There's just some questions on the new ADU ordinance, so we're just gonna go over it with our attorney, Steve Bolton, and Sarah and Roger. And Sarah also invited the 2 aldermen that were involved with the writing of it. So we may make a couple changes to it, we're not really sure, but we just wanna kind of go over some of the different issues with it, like the 5-year time limit, a couple other things. So that's really what that's about. We're also gonna blow off pizza, so come hungry.
Can you put a candle on it? It's my birthday Tuesday.
Oh, really? We sure will.
I'm really thinking of not coming for that reason.
So we're gonna have pizza and drinks.
So will the candle make a difference?
Stick it right in a piece of pepperoni, huh?
No
Only
pepperoni.
one candle.
Yeah, just
Only
one.
one candle. Yeah, we're not discussing that.
So anyway.
I'll be 29 again.
We will have pizza.
Younger than my
If everybody
son, but
can, hopefully
that's
everybody can come. It shouldn't be that long. I can't imagine it's gonna be more than really an hour or so.
I'm planning on going to the training in April. I'm not planning on going, the first one in the morning is strictly for first-time members. A little bit later, there's the legal update, which is like the latest big case law and how that's shifted. But, you know, if anybody is available that Saturday, I think it's always a good thing to.
I'm
freshen
going.
up. I'm glad you're
Yeah.
going, and I'll reach out to Jay and Stathia
The city will reimburse the cost of it too.
to,
Cost you.
Right, glad I got
Join
that. I'll just
Yep.
fill it in.
Roger's already got the invoice.
That's good. That's good.
They sent it to me for some reason,
Yeah, we'll take care.
and for somebody else who's going.
We'll take care of it.
So with that,
Make a motion to adjourn.
seconded, all in favor of the adjournment, and we're adjourned.
11:52.
Congratulations, Mr. Boucher.
Yes,
Chairman
Mr. Boucher,
Boucher.
Chairman Boucher.
Hey.
Here, here.